Catherine Beard, Liberal Democrat MEP for the South East. MEPs have voted for a change in the law which will allow lorries' shapes, the design of lorries, to be changed. Why is that important for cyclists and pedestrians in the South East?
It will give the lorry driver much better vision all the way around his truck, so he can see whether pedestrians and cyclists are there. That's the key, that he has too many blind spots at the moment.
And what's the problem with those blind spots when it comes to, when you look at the statistics of kind of deaths and injuries, that you felt there was an issue here that needed sorting out?
Well, as MEPs, we are having it reported to us quite regularly that there are cyclists killed and seriously injured by collisions with lorries, and the See Me Save Me campaign that we were running last year was when the MEPs managed to get this legislation on the table, and it's really important that we stand up for the most vulnerable road users against trucks. And it's not the fault of the truck drivers necessarily. They just cannot see them. They're so high up, and the lorries are designed in such a way that it makes it worse.
So how will this change? What will this legislation mean for lorries that will help those drivers be able to see pedestrians and cyclists?
At the moment, the legislation says that the cabs have to be very short, and that's why you've got these very flat-fronted lorries driving on the roads. This legislation will relax that, means that you can have rounded cabs, you can have crumple zones, you can have the driver sitting much lower so that he has much better vision of the other road users. So it's those combinations of design that will help everyone, help him and generally him, and it will help all the other pedestrians and cyclists.
You mentioned that you've come across cases in the South East, sadly, where cyclists have been killed or injured. Do you think some of those injuries or deaths could have been prevented if this kind of law had already existed?
Yes, indeed. I mean, we've had a couple of really nasty accidents in Oxford, where I live, and it's when the lorry driver can't see a cyclist coming up on their inside, which is what they do at traffic lights or left-hand turnings. That's when the worst injuries happen. So we need to have better vision for the driver and more caution, of course, from the cyclists. But they are on the road, legitimate road users, and so we need to make it as safe as possible for all of us.
Just one aspect that you're perhaps not so happy about is the negotiations between ministers and MEPs, politicians, has already taken place. This is expected to go through as it is. That says that this won't come into force until 2022. So this isn't going to be a change that comes in overnight.
Well, we will be pushing in our negotiations. Now we've had this vote, we will now be negotiating with the Council and the Commission. The Parliament will be pushing to have these laws enacted as soon as possible. I'd like 2 years. That's all it will need to change. It doesn't mean to say you have to retrofit the lorries. It's just the new ones coming on to the market. And the more we have in the fleets that are better designed, the safer we will have it for everyone. Too many people are dying and are being seriously injured, and we owe it to them to get this legislation in as quickly as possible. Some of the lorry manufacturers are saying they can cope with this now. There's one or two that are still sticking. We need to have that legislation in place to really push it forward, and I will be doing my best to bring that in force as quickly as possible.